What's up, everybody? This is Dennis Furling, and as you all can imagine, it is a very cold day here in Texas, but I want to talk to you guys today about a very important subject, and that is how to deal with trauma. I happened to give a speech the other day at a conference, a Black Male Summit, hosted by Brother Derek Muhammad. And the thing is, oftentimes we're taught to ignore our trauma. We're taught to, as Black men, suck it up. And what ends up happening is these young men internalize all that and they end up exploding. And so I understand that it's very important for you young men to be able to talk about things that bother you, for young men like yourself to be able to basically get it all out. And so because of that, I don't tell you to internalize it. I tell you to talk about it. And what I do with my own page is I show you how I have turned the negative into positive, and that's what I do. And so first thing I want to say is shout out to all the moderators. Shout out to everybody who's in the panel. We're going to take the time to put the Cash App link up and the PayPal link. And without further ado, we'll let this play because I want you guys to hear what I had to say, and I'll break it down. And it'll start off with Brother Muhammad speaking, introducing me. But in the meantime, pay attention to what I'm saying, and I may stop in between to kind of explain a little bit more in detail what I mean. But we'll be right back.
Dennis Furling, let's go.
Thank you very much. I want to first say thank you, Brother Derek Muhammad, and acknowledge our wonderful mayor, who is also my fraternity brother, Clay. That's right. Brother Derek Muhammad mentions my upbringing as a young man. I grew up in South Los Angeles in the early 40s and 70s. I didn't know who my real father was until 8 years ago. I was mistreated. I was abused as a child. I was made to believe that I was going to die at 26. Now, what I'm basically doing is letting these young men know that, irrespective of what, and you guys missed a major part of the intro, but, Brother Muhammad was telling people about how, I take these trips and then I have all these nice cars and nice home and making money and stuff like that. But that's not the sum total of who I am. That's merely that's merely an after effect. That's really an after effect of a lot of hard work and a lot of dedication. But we don't ever get our Black American brothers to really tell us about how they got there. And so my point in letting you guys know that is letting you know how I got there. So let's keep listening here. Told that my only options were gang banging and selling dope, or hopefully get a football or basketball contract in order to make it out of the hood. This is the propaganda that was fed to me. Some of you all are young, some of you all are old enough to remember the rappers like Outkast. Yes, sir. I would see them on TV. And like, man, to get from where I am to where they are, sitting in my grandmother's house, broke, young, uneducated, no hope. This is where I was, dwelling on my past, the trauma that I had to deal with, like many of you, being told you're not going to be this, you're not going to be that. The color of your skin is going to hold you back. This is what I had to deal with. A mother that didn't necessarily want to raise me. A mother that gave me away to somebody else to raise me to strangers.
who didn't necessarily treat me the way I think I should be treated. All of that.
Now, the thing is, you got to understand is, I talk about this oftentimes, you know, my mother, like many of the other young women out here, don't necessarily, being a mom, being a parent generally is a big responsibility. And so, you know, my mother at the time, she got pregnant with me when she was a teenager, and she didn't necessarily want to be a mother. You know, she's even remarked to me that, you know, she didn't want to. She wanted to go to school. She wanted to finish college. And, you know, I, like many other young children, you know, growing up at that time, and even now, was an inconvenience. And I get that, you know. And so I guess some of you say, well, wow, that's cold. Why would your mom tell you that? You know, it's the truth. And, you know, the thing you want to start doing as men is you want to just go ahead and embrace the truth and deal with it. And when you do that, life becomes a lot clearer, you see. And so this is why I tell these men that, because many of them, if their mothers or parent or whoever hadn't actually verbalized that, they still feel that way. And so by me verbalizing that, it lets them know that, hey, man, I understand how you feel. And if I can succeed irrespective of that, then so can you.
Many of you are dealing with it. Many of you are dealing with it right now. It doesn't matter if you're 15 or 55. Many of you are dealing with that right now.
Yes, sir.
And the reason I know is because I talk to thousands of black men every day. Facebook, YouTube, and I know what you're doing. But what I'm telling you, brothers, what you have to do is you have to embrace that trauma. You have to embrace it. You have to look at it and say, you know what? This is not going to destroy me. This is not going to deter me. This is fashioning me into who I am and who I'm going to be. And that's what I have, because there's nothing you can do about it. You either look at it as a curse, or you look at it as a gift. It's how you bear your cross. You see?
Yes, sir.
I chrome plate my cross. I gold plate my cross and wear it across my neck. This is me. This is who I am. And I go with that because I don't have any other choice.
What I'm basically saying is, these are the circumstances of your life. You guys can't necessarily pick the circumstances of your life. All you can really do is just play the cards that are dealt to you. And there's nothing to get mad about. It's nothing to get angry about. We can always say, well, there are people out there worse. I get that. That's not going to make you feel better. What will make you feel better, right, is go ahead and embrace that trauma. Recognize that, you know what, this makes me feel bad. This makes me upset. I didn't have my mother in my life. I didn't have my father in my life. I was, you know, I grew up poor. I grew up dark skinned. I was picked on as a child because I was too light skinned. All these different things. This is part of who you are. Now, the question is, what are you going to do that? Are you going to use that? Are you going to allow that to anchor you down? Or are you going to use that as fuel? You see, that's the question that you have to ask yourself as a man. And I'm generally speaking as, you know, any human being, but as a black man especially, you have to recognize that you're going to be burdened down with trauma. I mean, the society is set up like that. And so the question is, how are you going to bear that trauma? Are you going to bear it? Are you going to wear it like a cross? You know, are you going to chrome plate it? Are you going to wear it across your neck? Or are you going to let it weigh you down like Jesus Christ when he had to carry his cross up to Calvary? It weighed him down, right? So that's the question that you have to ask yourself. And you know, and I know that that analogy requires a little bit more detail, but what we'll do is we'll let this finish playing.
See, a lot of us, we didn't have the privilege of having extremely strong, determined, hard-headed men around us as young men that we saw go through walls or die trying. Unfortunately for me, I'm hard-headed. I'm a hard-headed young man. So despite what the news told me about myself, about my people, about my brothers, despite what rap music, despite what the TV shows, despite all those stereotypes, you could not tell me that I was not a child of God and this whole world belonged to me.
basically what I'm saying was, at the time I was growing up in the 80s and 90s, picture this, it's the height of the crack epidemic, and I'm at the epicenter. I mean, I'm living in South Central LA. I'm a preteen, I'm a teenager. You know, everybody around me is either a gangbanger or affiliated in some way. I myself am affiliated solely because I live in a neighborhood with a certain in a certain gang territory. So anybody in that situation, death is all around you. The penitentiary is all around you. You're paranoid about going to jail. Every other friend that you have has been to the YA. Every other friend that you have has somebody who's been shot. Every interaction you have, this is you're concerned about something. Who has drugs? Who has guns? The helicopters are flying over, you know, at night and during the day. LAPD is like an invading force there to suppress the residents. And so this is the environment I grew up. You turn the radio on, you turn the TV on, and what do you hear? You hear a lot of music talking about death and gangbanging and shooting and killing and the harsh upbringing of life. This is what I was surrounded by. So everything around me was telling me, hey, you're unworthy. You're not going to be successful. You're going to, you know, have a difficult life and you're going to die a miserable death. This is what everything around me was saying to me. And so when I tell you I was hard-headed, I don't mean that in a negative sense. I mean that in a positive sense. And this is the hard-headedness that you brothers have to have. You got to be hard-headed in the sense that you can't allow that negativity to penetrate your brain to the point that it becomes debilitating. Because see, remember, you already have the trauma that you're dealing with. And now coupled with the negativity, it begins to be a heavy burden to carry.
This whole world belongs to me. Not South Central LA, not Third Ward where I used to live when I would come out here to Houston. This whole world is mine. And that's the mentality that you have to have. Anything you want in this world, you can get it. You don't have to steal it. You don't have to take it. You don't have to take it from somebody else. That's the mentality that you have to have. You have got to be a hard-headed black man to be successful in this world. Hard-headed. I refuse to accept any negativity coming from mama, grandma, daddy, uncle, anybody. You can't tell me what I can't do.
That's right, brother.
Hard-headed.
Yes, sir.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So a lot of you brothers have not had life breathe into you. All you've heard is death.
That's right.
That's it. Told you what you can't do, what you ain't gonna be. You're not good enough. You're too light skinned, you're too black, your hair too nappy, your hair too whatever's wrong. You're too fat, you're too skinny, you're too young, you're too old. Nothing but death breathe into your ears. And they expect you to live a life that's worth living. So you gotta be hard-headed. Now, I know Brother Muhammad asked me to come up here and talk to you guys about paperwork and give you paperwork straight. So
Brother Derek likes to bring me up to be, you know, the showboat. He wants me to come up there with the, you know, with the fancy lifestyle and the Rolexes, and you know, I get that. He wants me to be up there to combat the illusion that only rappers and football players can live well. I get that, but you know, that really is. That's never been me, you know. I don't really get off on bragging about material wealth because I know it's just hollow. You know, it's par for the course when you strive and you're successful and you're patient and you've had the patience to anticipate the delayed gratification that will come from years and years of sacrifice. So I know Brother Muhammad, and he is a good friend of mine, but that's not what I like to talk about. Instead, what I like to do is come and relate to the brothers and show them where I came from and where they can come from, and to get to where I am and hopefully surpass me in all things. That's what I like to do. So that's why I kind of took a turn to when he said paperwork, he meant let them know how they could get their businesses started. So I hit on that a little bit, but for the most part, those brothers didn't need lawyering. They needed to know how I got to where I am. Okay.
All that, I get it. You know, I'm a lawyer by trade, and you know, he wants me to tell you about how I went to law school, and you know, how I formed a television corporation, entertainment company, all these things. And it's because I'm hard-headed. It's because I made it up in my mind years ago that this is what I was going to do, and I wasn't going to let anybody stop me from doing it.
So basically, I was, you know, a lot of people told me, you know, I'll say this. You know, I went to graduated from Grambling. Before I even got in Grambling, my GPA was pretty horrible coming out of Manual Arts High School, which is in South Central LA. And 1992 is when I graduated. A year before, somebody got shot on the campus that was gang related. I'd probably been in at least half a dozen fights in high school alone, probably another half a dozen in the years before that. You know, not middle school, but junior high school. And so I really wasn't the best of students. I actually got in a fight in the classroom, and we ended up sending the teacher to the hospital. And so I really wasn't a great student, you know, so I was on that path. And, you know, I was blessed to be able to get into an HBCU. And when I got there, you know, my GPA immediately, you know, went up to the high 3.7s, you know. And so that let me know that I could. You know, that was the first time I realized that I could succeed. And so part of dealing with the trauma is not being around people that continue to traumatize you, not being in places and circumstances where you are continually traumatized and reminded. Once I went to Grambling, which is in North Louisiana, isolated away from LA, away from all the foolishness that I had to deal with, all the crime, all the poverty, all the violence, then I was able to flourish because that trauma, I removed myself from that trauma and those people who reminded me of that trauma, you see? And so from that point forward, it was the sky was the limit. So some of you guys, you're hard-headed in the wrong way. You're trying to stay in the same place with people that continue to traumatize you, remind you of that trauma, and they bring out the worst in you. And you need to remove yourself from that. You know, I say this all the time to Black men, especially. I say a stolen people in a stolen land will never have peace. As long as you are here in this country, you feel trapped in this country, you're going to constantly be reminded of the trauma and the traumatization that Black men and women have had to endure in this country. And so you're going to be focused on that. Every time we see a Black man get shot by the police, what do we remember? We remember the stories of our grandmothers and our grandfathers and our uncles telling us about what they had to go through during Jim Crow and the 1960s and the riots and that stuff. It constantly reminds us. So our minds are always occupied by that past trauma. And this is why people like the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, we need to separate. This is why Malcolm X said the same thing. We need to separate. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, all our great leaders have told us that we need to separate. And part of that reason was, I would think, is because of the trauma that we've had to endure collectively as a people. We need to get away from that. Now, specifically as Black men have borne the brunt of that trauma, it doesn't help you to be around those who continue to, you know, remind you of what you've had to endure. So it was no surprise to me that once I got away now, and it shouldn't be a surprise to you that once you get away from all of that, you'll do better, which is what I did here.
Now, what you brothers have to do is figure out what exactly it is you want to do. And I don't care how lofty the ideal is. You have to make it up in your mind that this is what you want to do, and you got to go towards that goal. You don't let anybody stop you from getting there.
No.
There's a lot of things that I could say. There's a lot of things I could keep. There's so much. You know, but the main and the most important thing is there are opportunities out there for you. Each person is presented with opportunities. The question is, are you going to take that opportunity? At 18 years old, I had a 750 on the SAT, 2.6 GPA, and I graduated from one of the worst high schools in Los Angeles, California, Manual Arts High School. And just so you know how bad it was, in my sophomore year, somebody got shot on campus in the middle of the day. They didn't evacuate the school. They didn't send in the trauma team. They told us to go back to class. The news reporters came out. I saw the man get shot on the basketball court, not more than 100 feet away. They sent us back to class because it was the norm. That's what they thought of us. But I thought more of myself than that. You brothers need to think more of yourself than that. The fact that you're here today indicates that you think more of yourself than that. You came here for somebody to give you a word of life. And I'm telling you, I am you. I'm 46 years old, and I am you. You understand what I'm saying? I'm here because I love you.
What I often do,
He likes to bring me up here.
we don't often say that to each other, brothers. You know, I freely tell, you know, my brothers that I love you, you know, and I don't, I'm not being facetious or hollow with that. I love you, and that's why I'm still here. I love you, that's why I speak to you. I love you, that's why I take the time to share my story and my life with you, because I know you need to hear it. And here's another thing. Because I love myself, I can love you. You see, it's hard to love others if you can't love yourself. It's hard to love others that look like you if you hate yourself. You see, and so by me telling you that, it makes it that much easier. Started off with me telling my sons I love them. You know, well, it started off with me loving myself. Even when no one else loves you, you love yourself, and that's a start too. That's another place that we should probably visit at some point here. But you guys have to begin to love yourselves, and not just say it, but show it to yourselves. You know, how you treat yourselves, how you carry yourselves, how you dress, how you conduct yourself. These are things that are important. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit, and then we'll continue. Somebody falls out at the job, you don't have workers' comp insurance. The good thing about it, there's other people who've done it before, so you can do what they did. It's not a problem. You want to form a corporation? It's like $200 with the Secretary of State. You get a tax ID number, you call IRS overnight. Yeah, just form this corporation. You can download the forms online. A lawyer will charge you $2,000 for it. It takes you 3 or 4 minutes to do it. You can do that. Do you have the best product? Can you deliver it for the least amount of money? And can you deliver it in a short amount of time? What is your product? I'm an attorney. I deliver legal services. I'm also an entertainment company owner. I produce television shows and hip hop music. I produced the hip hop music because I didn't want to pay some rapper or some entertainer money to use his tracks on my TV shows. See what I'm saying?
Yes, sir.
So every time my stuff plays, not only do I get money for the TV show, I get money from BMI for the credits it's played, even when it's played on YouTube. So guys, I get a little blowback from people saying, "Oh, you're a rapping lawyer." Well, I did that out of necessity. You know, I would otherwise have to. There's a lot of YouTube entertainers, the YouTube podcasts. They use other people's music. I don't do that. You know, I keep it all in the family. I'm kind of like the mafia in that regard. I don't like to let outsiders get my money. So what I'll do is I'll put my own music up, my own videos from years back that most of you've never heard. And I got a check the other day, you know, because of what I'm doing here. And so let's say 2,000 people watch it. That's 2,000 spins times 3 songs. That's a significant check. You see, 2,000 people times 3, that's 6,000 spins. You see, I mean, over the years it will add up. So it's just a way, it's learning the system, learning how to maneuver through the system, as opposed to spending my time
trauma, as opposed to spending my time dwelling on past trauma, past anguish, I use that as fuel. I use that anger as fuel to push me forward. You see, I use that. Now, I don't use anger anymore. We'll get to that in a little while, but that's a little trick that I've been using. So I appreciate you guys listening to my music, and I appreciate the fact that I get a lot of feedback from you guys, but thank you so much for that.
Wow. That's Marco.
Yeah. Nobody told me that. Remember, I come from the streets. I'm a street dude. I figured this out. These are the angles.
Yes, sir.
The only difference is I don't do anything illegal. Why? What did I just say at first? Growth. I promise you, I've stood next to Pablo Escobar's gravesite. Anybody know who Pablo Escobar is?
Yes, sir.
Pablo Escobar made billions of dollars. I stood next to his gravesite. He died in his 40s. I'm 46. He died at 43. He's dead. I stood next to Griselda Blanco's gravesite. Y'all know who that is? She orchestrated the entire Miami drug cartel thing. She's the queen of the cartel. I stood next to her gravesite. If you're thinking about doing something illegal, I promise you, there's somebody who drives a Ford Taurus working in the FBI office, or over here in a detective in Houston making $42,000 a year, just plotting and planning on taking you there.
Right.
So my whole point is this, fellas, there's really no get rich quick schemes. A lot of guys, they have these D-boy dreams or these scammer dreams. And my whole point of telling us that was that, you know, I stood next to Pablo. I went down to Colombia probably maybe this is 2016, and I did the Narco Traficante tour, you know, and it dawned upon me, you know, and this was after watching the Narcos movies that everybody's been watching. I think it was 2016, 2017. And oh my God, everybody wanted to be like this rich guy, right? Everybody wanted to have money, you know, everybody wanted to live this fabulous lifestyle. Those people are dead now, or they're in jail. So how fabulous was their lifestyle if it abruptly can come to an end because somebody who recognizes that they can take you out because, well, somebody recognizes that you're an easy target because the way in which you attain your money is nefarious. So it comes to a sudden end. So there's really no quick, easy way out. You can work smarter, you can work harder, but you're gonna have to work, and you're gonna have to work within the parameters allowed under the law. There's no get rich quick schemes. You know, that's not gonna happen. You know, there's always somebody watching you. There's always somebody that has an eye on you. The more illegal activity you got going on, even the mafia, they had a omerta code, and people would rather risk death, right, than tell, right, on their fellow mafia guys. But they end up telling anyway and risk death. You know, there was this old gangster, he said, the only way you can keep a secret between three people is if two of them are dead. So there are no secrets in this world. Everything is new under the sun. The best thing to do is fly straight. You know, and this is what I'm trying to tell these guys. There's no get rich quick schemes. Oftentimes the people that you see are wealthy, it took them a while to get there. Some people, yeah, they inherited it, but there's some work attached to that too. There's some hard work and some planning and some dedication attached to the work, to the wealth that even those who inherited got. They got it from their ancestors, but yet somebody had to work for it. There's no easy way out.
That's all they do is sit around trying to figure out who else can we get? How do we feed this machine? And if given the opportunity, you think they want to put people undesirables in that machine to feed them. What is a machine?
In other words, when I said undesirable,
I don't like criminal law. I don't practice.
What I'm saying is, if they got a choice between putting somebody that looked like you in jail, or somebody who was a minority, or back in the day used to be the Irish and the Italians, right? Because they were the minorities back in the day, right? Because, you know, they were the undesirables. But yeah, if they got a choice between putting somebody that looks like them and somebody like you in jail, they're gonna put you in jail because you're an undesirable. They're gonna target you. That's kind of what I'm trying to explain to you guys. So there's no quick, easy way out of, you got to work hard. You got to work smart. You got to have a plan.
This taste for it.
And you got to stay
The
legal.
law system is biased towards black men,
Yes, sir.
and brown men, but for the most part, I think it's biased towards black men.
Yes, sir.
And I don't want to have anything to do with it. And I have done some criminal defense, but I just don't like it, to particularly deal with personal injury cases. Right now, I'm embroiled in a toxic tort litigation with this Crosby plant that blew up in 2017.
Oh, yes, sir.
The case might settle for $750 million.
Wow.
That's crazy. Me, a little dude from South Central LA, who didn't know who his real daddy was until 8 years ago, whose mama told him at 6 years old, I tried to abort you.
Mhm.
I took pills to try to poison you and get you out of my system.
Wow.
And I dealt with that. That's that trauma I'm telling you about.
See, a lot of us, see, here's the thing, and I know a lot of people, and I'm sure that, you know, some of my family members take umbrage to the fact that I'm so open and willing to talk about, you know, my experiences as a young man. Now, it's embarrassing for me to do it. At least it was. It was a lot more embarrassing. But I realize that I'm not the only one. I realize that my testimony helped save Black men's lives, and not just Black men, because there are other men who listen to my page. There's Asian men, there are Hispanic men, there are Italian men, you know, men listen to my page. And it's because I'm open and because I'm honest and I'm not holding back. And because I'm willing to tell you, on one hand, yeah, this case that I'm working on might settle for $750 million in the next couple of years. And then in the next breath tell you, yeah, my mom said when I was about 6 years old, she tried to take birth control pills to try to get rid of me, right? That's how, to try to get me, poison me out of her system. I'm willing to tell you that. You see, I'm willing to tell you that because it's important for you to understand where I came from so you can understand how I got to where I am now. See, I'm honest with you because when you're honest and when you speak truth, God is with you, you know, and I know that a lot of you brothers, you've been dissuaded from the church, you've been dissuaded from religion, you've been dissuaded from a higher belief in God because of oftentimes who the deliverer is. Oftentimes you ran across or heard stories about crooked preachers or sneaky preachers that are running around in nice cars and messing around with half the congregation. I get that. But you still shouldn't put that on God. You still shouldn't put that on the Most High. That's between God and that man. That Bible is still there. That Quran is still there. That Holy Torah is still there. Those words are still as meaningful as they've always been. It's on you as a man to pick it up and develop your own relationship with the Most High, whatever you call him. Because see, what I realize and what I'm about to explain to these young men is because my mother told me that, it helped solidify my relationship with God, because I know if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't be here. And so I am beholden to God. You see, I am beholden to the Most High. I am beholden to Yahweh, Yahshua. I don't know all you brothers, man. You got all these different names. I can barely pronounce these names. But I'm beholden to the Most High God, the creator of all. You see, I'm not beholden to any man or any woman, because if for the women and the men in my life, I wouldn't be who I am. I wouldn't be here at all. You see, and that was my mother giving me that bit of truth. It freed me. It freed me from the obligations that most of you all feel towards your mother. You treat her like she's the goddess. And I realized this person is just an imperfect person, just like the rest of us. You see, and I won't even call what she did a mistake. It is what it is. It's what it is. And see, when you can get to that point, when you can recognize that what you used to label as trauma are just facts and occurrences and happenstances and truth and circumstances, and you can divest yourself of those emotions associated with it, then you begin to free yourselves. And that's why I want you brothers to get to. But let's continue to listen.
Mm-hmm.
That's that trauma I'm telling you about. Why am I here? Because God wants me to be here.
Yes, sir.
And God said this whole world is yours. You understand what I'm saying?
I understand.
So it's easy for me to say, yeah, you know what? My mom wasn't perfect. My stepdad wasn't, my adopted father wasn't perfect. I didn't even know my real dad. But the bottom line, I'm God's child. And this is God's earth.
That's right.
Which means this whole world is my inheritance. So I'm not limited to the faults and the shortcomings of those human beings who raised me or around me. You transcend your environment. You transcend your upbringing. You transcend your neighborhood, your town. This whole world belongs to you.
Sir.
And you have to internalize that. You have to believe that wholeheartedly and not limit yourself to what you see. I've seen dead bodies before. I've seen people get shot. I've seen gang fights. I've seen all of that. I got a cousin right now, Google it, Sherman Johnson. Had to go testify in his trial in 2018. You got me, I'm a lawyer. I'm up here testifying for you in Colorado because they caught you with 6 birds, allegedly. 6 kilos of cocaine going through, not Nebraska. And now he's appealing it to the Supreme Court. We were raised in the same house.
Wow.
The same house. He was born in February of 1974. I was born in April of 1974. We grew up like brothers. He went one path, I went another. He experienced much of the same trauma I experienced. It's like an experiment. You got one cousin, same age, everything. It's how you perceive what happens to you. Do you use it as fight? Do you use that anger, that rage that you have, that unfairness that you have had to endure because nobody treated you well? You were disrespected, you were abused. You had to go outside and there was gangsters out there, people sweating you and bullying you. How do you use that anger and that rage? I used it to fuel myself through law school. I worked 2 jobs when I was in law school. I refused to quit. I refused to die. I was hard-headed. See, the society that we live in, what it does is it tells you as a black man, you're not good enough, you're never gonna be anything, don't worry about it, just hang it up. You're gonna be like these guys over here, in a body bag somewhere. Just quit. But I was hard-headed. And you gotta be hard-headed.
Yes, sir.
You gotta believe in yourself even when nobody else does. You have to love yourself. You gotta raise your standards for yourself. And then raise it for everybody around you. And some people are not gonna like that. You know what they're gonna do when you raise your standards? They're gonna say, you too good. You think you're too good. You think you're too good for us?
See, I'm not just some lawyer up here talking, lecturing to a group of black men. I'm letting them know I'm one of them. And it's the same thing I do with you brothers. I don't separate myself from you guys. Mr. Samuels, I love his work. He uses a term called high value man. And there are other YouTube people who use the term alpha male and beta male. You very rarely ever hear me using those terms because what that does is, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, it separates me from my brothers. And I don't want to be separate from my brothers. The reason that I came back to the United States when I could very well be sitting on a warm island somewhere enjoying the good life is because I was concerned about you black men. I was concerned that I was concerned because I know that I have a message that I could give to you that could help you. And yeah, I could very well do it from, overseas, but it's more effective when you see me here in the United States, in it with you, in the front lines with you, speaking to you from here, living the same experiences that you're experiencing. And that's why I'm here, because I love you and because I need you to be able to see how I'm dealing with it. I need you to be able to see that there's others that are like you, whatever our positions may be, that understand what you're dealing with, So, and this is why I'm able to connect with you guys, because I open myself up, because I speak the truth to you, because I don't hold back. And so I think that's why, I'm not the clean cut lawyer. I don't speak with the nasal passages, like a lot of guys. This is me. This is who I am. I'm one of you. I'm as imperfect as you brothers are.
You ain't nothing. And then when you get real good at it, they're gonna start calling you mean names. And you think you're better than us. You see? And when you stop,
I'm as imperfect as you brothers are.
Dysfunction that they want you ain't nothing. They're gonna call you that. And then when you get real good at it, they're gonna start calling you mean names.
So here's the thing. A lot of times, even the ladies that follow my page, look at my page, they say stuff like, "You hate these lovely ladies," and I don't.
And then when you get real good at it,
but ironically, when I ask them to point out where here's the thing. A lot of times, even the ladies, dozens and dozens of YouTube my videos, where have I ever hate demonstrated some objective, and I don't.
and then when you get real good at it,
Hateful statements toward the lovely ladies that are here's the thing. They can't any times, even the ladies that are doing give you guys video different posts, whatever I like what I'm doing, demonstrating some ladies. I'm giving you a view of the world that puts you first, but really that puts God that are here's the thing. And it puts you on the God, even the ladies that are doing you guys like different posts, irrespective of what other people say about you, irrespective of whether or not you want to share your wealth or anything else, or your time or your energy. That's what I'm doing. I'm empowering you. And when you are in a battle, when you're in a power struggle with the women in your clan or your group, me uplifting you doesn't benefit them. Me empowering Black men with truth and honesty, it doesn't make their job of maintaining power that much easier. I understand what's happening. That's it. It's just a power struggle. No different than when you're in a relationship with a woman and she wants to be in charge. And what does she do? She does stuff like cut you off from your friends, cut you off from your relatives, shame you. She does the crap test towards you, all these sort of things, to try to belittle you and test your power. This is what they do. But it's a power struggle. So I get it. So they're going to be angry with you when you start, quote unquote, changing and doing better for yourself. They're going to be angry. They're going to call you names, but that goes with the territory, brothers.
They're going to call you the bad guy. You got to be hard-headed, brothers. Yes, sir. Hard-headed in a good way. Hard-headed like the Lord wanted you to be hard-headed. Hard-headed like Noah. Hard-headed like Moses. Right?
Mm-hmm.
You understand what I'm saying? Yes, sir. What I'd like for you brothers to do, man, is just think about where you want to go in life. It doesn't matter if you're 14 or 55 or 65 or whatever. What do you see for your life? Better yet, what do you see for your sons and your children? What example, what legacy do you want to leave for them? You want to be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, I'm an honorable man, I've done the best I could. Don't you want that? There's peace of mind in it. To be able to look yourself in the mirror and say, my time spent on this earth, I did well. And I can hold my head up and be proud of it.
I mean, think about this, man. You got people like Pablo Escobar. Look, you got people like Pablo Escobar. You got all these people, man. They got to change their last names because they don't want to be associated with their father's enemies. I know back in the day, I know people who were criminals, drug dealers. They would have to sleep under the beds in their houses because they were afraid of somebody running up in there and killing them in their sleep. That's not peace of mind. And at a certain age, you'll realize that peace of mind is the most important thing. And not necessarily money, because you have people who, multimillionaires. There was a guy, I believe his name, Robin Williams. Robin Williams is his name. He killed himself. This man was a multimillionaire and he killed himself because he didn't have peace of mind. He was concerned about a lot of stuff, but it's just, the whole point is, family, you've got to make sure that you're able to look yourself in the eyes as a man and be proud and live an honorable life. That's what you want to do. You want to be an honorable man, live an honorable life. This is the type of thing that you want to do.
People that come behind me, I'm setting an example for them. I may not be perfect. Nobody's perfect. Jesus Christ is perfect. They killed him.
Right.
So you gotta, every man in this room, all of you guys, figure out what type of man you're gonna be, what you want to be, what your legacy what you want it to be, and you gotta be hard-headed and get into that and fulfilling that purpose and getting to that goal. Yes, sir. I love you, brothers. I appreciate you. Thank you, brother Jeremiah.
All right.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate it. Come on, we can do better than that.
All right. So that was pretty much that, and again, today the topic is dealing with past trauma from a mature perspective. I'm at the point where I can look back and see the hardship and trauma I suffered as a blessing. Many didn't make it to this point. Hey man, when was the last time you talked to such and such? Man, he doing life. What about old boy? He doing life too. But what about such and such? Man, he got pulled over, ate the dope, and wound up dying. Many didn't make it. So what I want to do today, and I'm going to open up the link up so you guys can, so we can come in and have a conversation. Dealing with past trauma from a mature perspective. You can use it. You can allow it to weigh you down. See, a lot of us allow it to weigh us down. But here's the dangerous part. The dangerous part is some young men, especially older men also, they don't keep it bottled up. And they don't use it in a positive way. They don't even know how. They don't even think that's fathomable. That's not even something that's possible for them. When they have that trauma, when they have that anger, when they have all that pent up rage, they take it out on somebody else. They take it out on somebody else that looks like them. They typically take it out on other Black men. And so because of that, it's important for all of us as Black men, as mature Black men, to address this anger, this rage that comes from trauma. I think it's something that we don't talk about. We tell each other to suck it up. See, what ends up happening is these young men, in order to avoid that trauma, or what's the old saying, hurt people, they will go out and hurt you. A lot of these young men who are violent, who are angry, who do things, they lash out, they don't seem to care about the world, is because the world has shown that they don't care about them. And so because of that, what happens? The world just becomes more dangerous. Now you got a bunch of angry young men running around, shooting and killing and murdering and not caring and hurting people. Look at the situation that happened up in, I believe it was New York and Harlem a few weeks back. A young woman was savagely beaten and brutalized by these guys. You cannot tell me that these young men have not been traumatized in some way. You cannot tell me that these young men have not had to endure trauma. And see, the thing is, it's going to get worse. This is not something that's going to get better anytime soon. The more it reminds me of South Central LA. It reminds me of where I grew up. It reminds me that, there's no escaping from this. You can't hide away from it. You can't tell these men to get over it. This was a savage, brutal attack by these young men on that woman. You guys remember this? Suspect arrested for they bit the woman's eye and all that. You have to address it, and you have to teach these young men how to turn that into positivity. Otherwise, they'll turn in on themselves. They'll turn in on you. They'll turn in on their community. It's going to go somewhere. So, the work that I do here is basically putting an example and trust me, at some point, you're going to have to let that anger go. But hopefully it's well after you've accomplished the things that you wanted to accomplish. I couldn't go really into too much detail because I didn't want to take up the whole time. The mayor was there. You know, they had other people. I really wasn't on the schedule, but because I donate, he always wants me to come up and talk. And so I appreciate Brother Muhammad there. But here, this is why I do this. We have a lot of angry young men out there. Unless you want this world, unless you wanted America to look like South Central LA 20 years ago or Chicago right now, then you're going to have to deal with this. And it's not just black men. This is something that we need to begin to deal with. So at this time, I want to say thank you to the gentlemen who come into the chat room. Shout out to Malika. And let's see who else we got here. We got Bobby Bauman and 020. How are you gentlemen doing today? Malika, you up first. How are you today, sir?
Oh, I'm doing well, brother. How you doing?
I'm good, man. I was, it's been a hard week, man. I've been having a lot of people that giving me a hard time about my page, not because of not because of necessarily anything they can point out that I say. They just generally don't like me defending black men. They don't like me being so understanding as to some of the negative aspects of the youth and some of the older men. But I understand. You see what I mean? I understand it a lot.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's a lot of angry black men out there, young and old. There's a lot of angry men, but it's a lot of angry black men out there, Michael. Go ahead, brother. The floor is yours, and then we're going to go to Bobby.
I like the topic, and I like the, healing. One of the things I realize, and I'm doing this myself to help me heal from past trauma, is brothers need to go get therapy.
Yeah.
And if you want to be successful and if you want to have any better relationships, but especially the relationship with yourself, you got to face your problems and you got to face your demons. And a lot of times for black men, like how you said, we're not allowed to face our demons. We're supposed to take everything on the chin, everything from trauma from a mom, even trauma from sexual molestation, even from growing up in poverty, even from just if you were achieving greatness, we're supposed to not be happy for having our greatness and our abilities. We're supposed to just always be humble. We're not saying that you got to floss and have anything, but there's nothing wrong with shining and showing what you've accomplished. And like how you said, you were telling us last week, brothers, don't be afraid to be happy for what you are and don't apologize for what you like and what you want.
Right. Because you're gonna be the bad guy anyway. But go ahead. Well, what do you think about the fact that even when we try to vent, people don't even want us to vent. They don't even want these young brothers to come online. I hear them, they're venting. Like I listen to the black men who come on my page, and yeah, it's a lot of anger in there. It's a lot of hate. Some of them are mad with their mother. Some of them are mad at their parents. Some of them are mad at the circumstance they grew up in. Some of them are mad about things that they feel are unfair. I just let them vent because as long as they have somewhere to vent like any other vent, when you vent, you relieve the pressure. You see what I'm saying? And if you don't let them vent, that same pressure is that anger, that hostility is eventually going to explode. So, what do you think about that? Why is it that people have such a problem with black men even venting?
Because we're not supposed to vent. We're not supposed to say anything. We're supposed to be the sin eaters, and we're supposed to be the kicking dolls of people. We're supposed to be what we're supposed to be. We're not physically slaves, but we're still supposed to be mental slaves. We're supposed to still feel the oppressions and accept it. But here's a second thing. When we vent and when we speak, and especially now since we have social media, you see, social media is not just for one group of people, it's for a mass of people. Right. And it's been our outlet for the past 10, 15 years that we're speaking on our pain and our problems. And what it does is shedding a light and it's showing a mirror to our problems, our pains, and our plight. And it's not just a small group of men. It's a vast group of black men. And when I mean not just black American men, you have black men in the diaspora speaking about their pain and their plight. Yeah. But the problem is especially Black men here in America, when we're talking about the pain that we dealt with from our mothers, from our girlfriends, from our aunties, from our big mamas, even from our wives. It's beginning.
And even our fathers and our missing fathers and the other men. And,
The thing is, we're speaking of our pain. We're not pointing the finger. You're just speaking of your pain, of what you're feeling. And a lot of other men, like these brothers on this platform here, we're all saying, yeah, me too. I understand it. And the thing is, we're not just comparing notes. It's being cathartic for us because we're getting out there and we're speaking, and it's not becoming a bashing session where some people are doing it. But the thing is, we're speaking out because we're hurting, and we haven't had platforms like this 40 or 50 years ago to speak on our pain.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, like how you said, we want to release the pain and we want to live better lives. But also we want to live better lives. And also we want to teach other men, especially our sons, hey, this is what we went through. I don't want you to go through this.
Right. Thank you so much, Malika. Bobby Bauman has been waiting patiently. And then we're going to go to obstacles to opportunity. Bobby, this is a very interesting subject. And it's something that men don't necessarily want to talk about. They don't want to talk about how they feel. They don't want to talk about how things that have happened to them in the past made them feel. They don't want to talk about the circumstances they're dealing with right now. In fact, many of us are shamed into being quiet. Oh, be a man, man up, suck it up. Oh man, that ain't nothing compared to what every time you tell somebody about what you're going through, they bring up something that happened 20 years ago about what they went through. So you don't even have an opportunity to righteously, experience your agony of the circumstances that you're in. This is us. What do you think, bro? Go ahead, Bobby. Oh, well, let me unmute you, Bobby. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Bobby. I apologize.
Good afternoon, Brother Sperlin. Good willing is the monarch of this house,
All right. Yes, sir.
So one thing I want to say is that my father, he introduced me to you, and I didn't realize how much trauma that he had growing up, and it built on me. You know what I'm saying? Like some of the experiences he had, I ended up having a lot of those similar experiences. Woo. And it was like a repeated cycle of trauma. And it gets worse. It gets worse each generation. You know what I'm saying? And I live in the same neighborhood where I used to.
Before you go, a lot of us, that's that generational curses. They refer to it in the Bible as generational curses, but that's exactly what you're talking about, Bobby. It's passed down from one generation to the next. But go ahead. You said you're living in the same neighborhood. Go ahead.
I'm living in the same neighborhood where, as growing up, I used to get whooped or have to whoop somebody up and down these streets. You know what I'm saying? Like I literally had to fight to say the N-word. You know what I'm saying? So my experiences are a little bit different from a lot of, Black people from the urban community. And like, it's the whole light skin, dark skin thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And so I dealt with that a lot. It was traumatic. It made me have ill will towards people. And then the fact that I was also poor and didn't have the things that people, they'll look at me and think that I should have it because of the color of my skin. And then I didn't have it and have to deal with that shame. Yeah. Like my grandfather was forced into a marriage that he didn't want. My father ended up in a marriage that he didn't want. And then, it's that whole, you supposed to accept what's there, regardless. You don't have any choice, any preference. And if you voice your preferences and it's not what's accepted, you get bashed for that. You try to go to college, you try to get money, you try to do the right things. You go out here, you volunteer, you help people out, and they still don't care. You're still the bad guy. You study the Bible, you follow it, you try to take care of your health. They still don't care. You're still nothing to them. Yeah. And this is the reason why a lot of us get frustrated and angry. Like October of last year, I almost went to jail. And I want to share this story with you, is because I had so much trauma in me, and then so many people throwing darts at me. I got shot at with paintball, like a drive-by paintball one day.
Yeah.
And so the next day, all this anger, all this rage, I was walking around outside just angry.
Yeah.
And then I found out a relative of mine died that day. So I was so mad, so frustrated that I body slammed a random dude.
So
I didn't hurt him because I fell on, I didn't hurt him because I fell on my arm so I wouldn't hurt him. But I had to get it out. But he understood.
Bobby, look, how old are you, brother?
I'm 39 now. It happened last year, so I was 38 at the time.
38. So when a lot of these folks, a lot of these people think, oh, you're supposed to grow out of that at 15. You're supposed to stop feeling like that at 18, snap your fingers, you're a grown man, all that rage and anger. Oh, you're supposed to have been able to handle that. Nobody has taught us how to deal with that. It wasn't until I think I was 35 years old, right? About 10 years ago now, a little over 10 years ago, that I realized that I had been lied to. Like yourself, I was told, okay, great, you made it out of the hood. That's wonderful. Life is bad. You get to start at the starting line now. You don't get any credit for all that stuff you've been through, but now you're just supposed to pick yourself up, dust yourself off, pull yourself up by the bootstraps, and move forward. Okay, so what did they say there? What you needed to make your life happy? Go to college, get a good job, find a cute girl to marry, have some kids, get a nice house and a white picket fence and a foreign car and a 401k and everything, and you'll have a happy life. And that's not how it works. See, all that happens is, you get more trauma and more trauma and more trauma, and it's more compacted, and then you eventually explode on somebody, or you explode within. See, I did all of that. You know, there was a time on my Facebook page, I would go in on people, man. I would cuss, I would all kinds of stuff. And now that I look back, it was embarrassing. You know, I went so far as I would invite guys down to Houston, Texas to meet me at the boxing gym. I would promise them a plane ticket, a plane ticket and hotel fare to fight them at the boxing gym, Reverend Ray Martin's boxing gym. All they had to do is come. That's how angry I'm a whole lawyer out here, right? And I'm offering people trips to come fight me. And it didn't matter if I was gonna win or lose. I just wanted to fight. I was just angry. You see what I'm saying, brother? And it wasn't until I accepted the fact that, man, you mad because you got all, and then the remedy that they gave you that they said would work, that didn't work. Money, so I end up drinking. And then, that did loose women. Okay, all that got me was an extra side baby. You see what I'm saying? What else? Trips overseas. Okay, that was fun. I enjoyed that. But it wasn't until I actually sat down and began to accept my circumstances for what they were and try to see the daylight in them, the lining in that cloud, that anger began to dissipate. Because see, that anger, it will destroy you and it will destroy all your relationships. Now, I had used my anger. Matter of fact, I was so attached to my anger. I needed my anger. I like being angry. My anger defined me. It made me who I was. It made me a better person as far as I was concerned. Yeah, I know the rest of these people can't handle it, but I can handle my anger. My anger has helped me get a perfect score on the bar examination, get licensed in 4 states, make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, sometimes more. And I needed my anger. But see, now that I don't have that anger, now that I finally let that go, because see, that anger got me to a certain point, just like you. But see, now it's starting to eat away at you. You see what I'm saying? And I was right around your age when I realized that, still a young man like yourself, but I was right around that age when I realized I got to be better, because this is going to kill me. It's destroying my relationships, not just romantic relationships, with your friends and your family members and your office, business contact. It just destroys a relationship. So, man, thank you. Thank you. You know what I mean? I feel you, brother. obstacles to opportunity, man. Welcome to the conversation, man. What are your thoughts on this, man?
Actually, thanks for everybody for having. I want to make sure you can hear me good, right?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay, all right, roger that. So my thoughts on the conversation is, this is a conversation that I have with many brothers that are my friends and allies, and I tried to emphasize, I tried to enforce a motto of more like my brother's keeper, right? Mm-hmm. And I basically say that, we have to take our relationships as men. If you look to females and you see their relationship, right? You see that they go through traumas, they go through traumatic experiences, they have pain, they have sorrow, they have celebration, and they share those with their counterpart, their girlfriends, their sisters. They share that continuously. Mm-hmm. But looking at my relationship with other men, I was like, we don't share anything that deep. I mean, if it's a situation where a woman might cheat on me or a woman might disrespect me, I'll go to the graveyard with that secret. And I don't really have any brothers that I can expose that truth to, because I might get clowned or they might make a joke. And I saw this relationship even in mature men who are around the age of 30 and 40, just the continuous jokes and just banter and tomfoolery. So I approached all the male friends that I had and I said, whether it was STDs or whether it was, domestic violence, you could come to me. There will be guaranteed no jokes. There will be guaranteed no laughter. There will be no judgment. You could come to me and you could speak freely, and I would die to the grave, and I would not tell anybody of your problems or the things you're going through, but somebody that it can confide in. And I saw that after a while, the relationships between the male friends in which I had started to develop at another level where the men could turn around and feel like they could talk to me because, sometimes for us men, we feel as though we can't go to other men with certain things. So the only one we do, we put our bucket in one drop, which is the woman we're with or the woman we date. And that's where we might expose a little sensitivity or a little bit of compromise. But when that doesn't work out and pan out, we have nothing. So nothing at all. And women have something. Once that man leaves her and cheats on her, or once that man may do something and it might not work out, she goes straight to her friends and they say, girl, get the bucket of ice cream and we're going to sit down and we're just going to do whatever we have to do to phase him out, to get you through this situation and this traumatic experience.
And I wanted to add in, oftentimes men find themselves in the quagmire. You can't tell your friends, your buddies, your brothers, your dad, because they're going to tell you to man up and clown you, treat you bad, treat you like you're weak. And here, if you tell your woman, two things can happen. Either she's going to look at you like you're weak. She's going to look at you like, oh my God, I made a mistake dealing with this dude. Or she's going to turn around and use that same information against you at your lowest point. And so men have learned that, which is why they just keep it in. There's nowhere for us to go to have these conversations. One, you got your friends, and then the other one, you got your woman who you love, who may betray you with that same information, one way or the other. And so that's why guys are exploding. That's why you get these men who go off on their families, who go off on their wives, who drink themselves to death, who just decide they just hermited themselves and they get away from society. They can't go to the reverend. This is the reason why, in the Catholic Church, they will let you at least go talk to the father, the padre or whatever. Mm-hmm. And you can confess all your sins and you can talk about those things behind closed doors and get some sort of relief that way. Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, and I just wanted to add one more thing. And this is just an opportunity, just a vehicle that other brothers can use if they're listening. For me, I've spent a lot of time in the military service. Mm-hmm. So one of the greatest things I've ever seen is that, society has many functions and many people have different types of relationships, but I've experienced relationships where literally I never known men and I never knew where they came from, or we never knew each other like that. But since we were thrown in environments and in situations where we had to sacrifice our lives for each other, I saw ability for men to come together in brotherhood. Right. I've been in many countries across the world. I've seen men hold hands in the street out of respect. Now, somewhere in the West, that would be perceived as, oh, that's not cool. What's wrong with you? You're holding another man's hand.
They do that a lot in India. I know in India.
Exactly. And I really didn't understand it when I came into those countries. But after immersing myself in the culture, the people just informed me that, you know, men in this society have to form bonds to protect this nation, to do unthinkable things that people would not like to do, would not like to sacrifice. And in a respect for that, and to build a relationship and a bond with men, we do these customs and traditions. So when I saw that, I was like, well, wow, you know, the biggest thing I do with a brother is give him the head nod, you know, like, you know, if I do that in itself. Yeah. So then I had to change my reaction. So when I basically decided to get out the military, I said, well, there's no excuse for me not to create my own brotherhood and not to create my own legion and have my own core principles and institute the same things that I've learned and experienced from their institutions, and create our own and create that group of men who could be there like a brotherhood, the few and the proud, to protect and have integrity and commitment to each other. Because we understand something as men that, and I want to end on this point, that society has made an agreement that we, at any time they desire, are supposed to die on our sword for their causes, whatever those causes may be. Yeah, I went here and I didn't like the service, so you better go die for me. Or this happened here, you better come die for me. And if you don't, then you're not X, Y, and Z.
You're not a real man.
Exactly. Right. So what we have to do is create our own creed and forge our own way amongst each other. And that relationship provides love, support, and then also, you know, energy that we provide to each other to do whatever we need to do. And I say that again, I'm in my brother's keepers, and that's why I love your channel so much, because it goes through not just the high value to the average, to all the men. It speaks to men, and it speaks to them in a way where they can basically, you know, express themselves genuinely, the true of what they are.
You know, the crazy thing is, man, I'm noticing that I have a lot more white men and Hispanic men and Asian men or Italian, depending on, you know, just they follow my page too, because the principles that we talk about are not just lacking amongst Black American men. It's also lacking amongst all men. They've all been lied to and told that these false senses of masculinity, keep it all to yourself, be a man, that's the way to operate. The truth is, nobody wants to hear us complain, because see, when we start complaining and we start talking about who we are, our humanity, then it's more difficult for them to lock us up. It's more difficult for them to shoot us down like dogs. It's more difficult for them to send men like yourself off overseas to die for causes that only help the rich. Because now you put a personality with that name and with that face. You put a human being who has real life feelings and emotions and experiences, and they don't want your humanity. It's hard for you to be a robot, a cog. It's hard for you to be just another spot filler if you have an actual personality. If you're not just if you're a person instead of just an it. And so what I do, and the primary reason that I have this page, man, is because I recognize that our reputation as Black men is the only thing that will keep us alive. In other words, it's the only thing, it's the thing that allows them to destroy us also. If you got a reputation for being a baby daddy, thug, mindless criminal, sexual deviant, then the police are not going to hesitate about taking you down. And yeah, there might be a little protest here and there, but for the most part, things will get back to normal. The reason that they don't do white folks the same way as they do us is because they see them as humanity. They see them as having personalities, as being their reputation is not what ours is, irrespective of what the history and what the facts are. The bottom line is their humanity remains intact with them. Same thing for Asian people. That's why you don't see Asians getting shot down like that. You see what I mean? But when you're an it, when you're a thing, when you're just a blob, you're a nobody. When you've been separated from your humanity, people won't take pity on you. There's no outcry when you're murdered in the street. There's no outcry. That's just another one. You know how they are. You see what I'm saying? So this is our opportunity to speak for ourselves. And that's why I appreciate people like you, people like Bobby, and people like Malika who come on here and express yourselves and let the world know, hey, this is what we think. This is how we feel. This is what makes us angry. This is what makes us happy. We're showing the world that we are human. This is our humanity. This is who we are. So thank you so much, Obstacles to Opportunity. I appreciate it. Anything else you want to add before I go to Malika?
Of course. I want to really say, and I want to pull up because I actually wrote down the point. So basically, I kind of the point I ended out last time is that, we just really need to, as men for each other and protecting, sometimes I can't even watch something on TV. I barely even watch TV now because you can't. Because it's either the man being in the role where he's a stupid idiot father, even though he's there and he's providing for his children. He's just so dumb. He just makes so much male stupid mistakes. And I saw a great TED talk actually recently with a female who said that she was a super feminist. And it wasn't until she heard about men's rights where she actually was a journalist, and it was hard for her to get out of that. Not to rebuke what men were saying, but they were saying, hey, look, we die early. We have some of the most dangerous jobs. We commit suicide the most. And there were so many statistics that basically she was saying that shattered her, patriarch system, men are our enemies thing. And then, it's kind of hard for us to mesh well with the other gender where, there's men who feel sometimes that in their lifetime, they have been wronged by females. But it's hard when females believe since the beginning of time, males have dominated and oppressed them. So that type of entrenched bias is hard to go against. But I want men to really focus on themselves and their brotherhood, and then focus on utilizing each other, not so much of what the other side is, of course, launching against them, but more so of what they can do for each other, how they could protect each other and be a safe haven for each other. Because if you see to the other side, they really protect each other. And I think if we bring more programs, and I want to end out on actually Dr. Amos Wilson. He says an amazing quote, and it says, quote, "You get the characters that you create. You get the sons that you make. You complain about the black males being this and black males being that and men being weak, and they ain't taking care of the family. Well, make another man." And that's what we have to do. So us as men, we have to make and work with our men to actually make a stronger male. And then we are going to be our best allies. We're going to be our best, people that we can lean on, just like the movie Lean on Me. Well, as a brother, I would say I'm here, Obstacles to Opportunity, where you can lean on us and you can lean on the brotherhood. And I love your channel and your platform, because this is a platform where brothers can actually express themselves and lean on this platform.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Malika, you've been patiently waiting, man. Man, what are your thoughts, man? Are we helping turn over some rocks here? Are we exposing some dark places to light? Are we on the right track here? I know as a cop, you dealt with a lot of angry men, and I know after that situation, you had to see where a lot of angry men end up. What are your thoughts on this stuff?
Definitely. We're doing something great here because we have this platform, and we have gentlemen like yourself and the other gentlemen here, and also the brother that left. One thing that I want to say to brothers, what we need to do and you mentioned this earlier before we came on the panel, was love yourself. But I want to say this: love yourself on purpose. That's something I had to learn. Like how you said, I was a police officer for 11 and a half years, and I didn't love myself. I had the money, I had the body, I was messing around with a lot of women, I had the clout, but I didn't love myself, which led to my downfall, and I had to go to prison. Now, this is kind of ironic. When I was in prison, I had to start learning to love myself because I had nobody else around me, and I was left with my own thoughts, the bad thoughts, the evil, the muck and the mire, and I had no one else to blame but me. And the funny thing is, I got around other brothers. I got around other men and started talking. And like how the brother said, I started to develop a brotherhood in the most craziest places you want to think, but I started to develop a brotherhood with men in prison and men that started to respect me and see me as a man. Now, I didn't say that I didn't run into men that had problems, but the men that I created friendships, I started to see that we had the same problem.
Yeah.
We're in this situation that we caused, but we started to talk about our problems and our issues, and we started to, because we all were in an abyss. We all were in that sunken place. But one thing I had to realize when I came out, prison wasn't there, but I had to deal with the reality that you're back in the real world. What do you do? And I had nothing. And when you have nothing, meaning that I didn't have the money, I didn't have the job, I didn't have the women, I didn't have the clothes. I wasn't the man that I was, but all that was a veneer, that was a facade that I was hiding behind. All I had was me, and I had to start learning to love me. Me having nothing, but also I had to understand who I was. I really didn't know who I was. I was doing like how you said, what society said. You get the job, you go to school, you make the money, you try to find the woman that you want to be with. You try to be the man that society wants you to be with, Black society wants you to be with, and what your women want you to be with, but you're not that person that you want to be with.
Right.
Because we're not taught to be who we're supposed to be. Until I had to realize who I was supposed to be. And I found brothers like you, BGS, and Angry Man, where it was forcing me to be unapologetically masculine, but unapologetically me. And also taking chances in life, but also learning to love who I was, learn to love the mistakes that I made, learn to love that I'm not perfect, learn to love me from me, and understanding loving who I am before I can love another person. That doesn't mean a woman. That means if I can't love myself, if I can't love you two brothers and to be that brother that you need me to be. I can't love myself if I can't love my children how the way they need to have a father figure. I can't love myself if I can't be that beacon in the community that people need. And I had to start learning, and I still have to catch myself because some of that brainwashed programming is still inside me of why am I feeling this way? Why do I have to feel this way?
Oh, yeah.
No, I'm loving myself on purpose. And here's a thing where people will feel this way. Well, who do you think you are? I am me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you think you got your ass up on your back. No, I'm just loving who I am. And people will see that. They will see that you're proud. They will see that you have this reverence for yourself, but also you have this reverence for your brothers, which we should.
Yeah.
And this is why I'm saying, Black men, love yourself on purpose, despite whatever flaws, whatever obstacles. If you're going through something, if you're in a situation, I don't care if you ain't got two nickels to rub together, love yourself. And like how the brother said, don't be afraid to talk to people, but also be careful who you talk to. Like this platform, Dennis, you accept men for who they are.
Yeah.
And you allow men to speak your mind, get that pain off of you, and you speak life into men. That's another thing we got to do, speak life into men, no matter what you're doing. One beautiful thing is, man, that I love? You take care of your sons, but you also spoil them, but also you teach them and balance out hard work and discipline.
Yep.
And you show it through martial arts, and also you show it through when you're talking to them. And I love the part when you were in your law office and you were showing, I forgot the attorney on the wall that you were showing him, and you were breaking it down, and you were talking to them, and you were speaking life into them, which is the beautiful thing that we all need, not just when we're young, but even when we're old, man, because we all need that. So speaking life, not just into other brothers, but speaking life into ourselves. So I'm gonna say it again, love ourselves on purpose.
You got to take care of home first, brother. You know, and I had to take care of myself and so that I could become a better father, so that I could take care of my sons. But part of taking care of my sons is making sure they got a clear LZ, right? And making sure there's not going to be some other brother out there who's angry and going to come up and take their life or take something from them, is also spreading this message. Because my sons, we're black men. We're going to live in the black community. We're going to interact with other black men. So if you're happy and you have a good life and you're surrounded by angry black men, then you know what? That anger is going to rub off on you, and that toxicity is going to rub off on you. And something bad could happen to you, because when they lash out, they're going to lash out against somebody who looks like you. So there's no saving yourself without saving your brothers. You can't do it. You can't, because we're stuck together, whether we believe it or not. Our fates are tied to each other as black men in America. We have nowhere else to go. Now, few of y'all might be able to marry out. Few of y'all might be able to get some citizenships in other countries and whatnot. But for the most part, we are together. We are all we have. And so, you know, I have to accept that responsibility. When I talk about the dry bones, I'm talking about Ezekiel 37. And when it says the hand of the Lord was upon me, carried me out into the spirit of the Lord and set me down amidst the valley, which was full of bones. You see, and caused me to pass by them and round about, and behold, they were many in the open valley, and lo, they were dry. You black men are the dry bones in the valley. Nobody has spoken life into you. And so you are just basically, you're in a dead-like stance. I've been there too. You see what I mean? I'm not here, I'm not there. I don't know what God's purpose is for me. I'm just going through the motions. I'm just living, I'm just laying there. You see, it wasn't until I accepted myself for who I was. I accepted my past. I accepted my trauma. I accepted the circumstances in which I was born, and I stopped using that anger, which was eating me up on the inside, because anger is like a cancer, right? Anger and cancer, it kind of sound alike. It eats you up on the inside. It takes away from you. It takes away from the quality of your life. It was difficult for me 10 years ago to tell you what made me happy. If I asked myself, what makes me happy? That was one of the most difficult questions that I had. Well, liquor? Okay, not really. Women? Well, you know, I like having them around. Fancy cars? That's just more insurance I got to pay. That's more gas. You see what I'm saying? Like, money? Okay, I'm laying in the bed. I got $300,000-$400,000 in the bank, and I'm too sad and depressed to get up out the bed. So it's not those things. You see, I have peace of mind and happiness now because I've dispelled the anger. I've come to agreement with my circumstances. We agreed that it happened. And that's it. I don't have to like it. I don't have to dislike it, but I also don't have to give it any more energy. Another thing is, and I always go back to this Holy Bible because there's wisdom in there. And I was raised in the church, I guess. You see what I'm saying? Like many of us, I was forced to go, but I didn't really realize the wisdom that was in there. You know, there was a story about Jesus Christ. He went to his hometown. They treated him so bad in his hometown, he couldn't even work his little miracles. You know, he had to get up out of them trying to kill him in his hometown. This is Jesus. And so when I say, you brothers who have been through trauma, you are not obligated to stay in those same places that have caused you trauma. You can leave, because all that does is it prevents you from being able to work the miracles that God wants you to work in your life. So you can leave. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, brothers. And nobody should try to keep you around them that caused you those bad. That uncle that said bad things, that auntie, that babysitter that might have molested you, that all that different stuff. Those people you had to fight. those gangsters that you had that you call homeboys. You don't have to be around them people anymore. That mama, that auntie, that grandma that used to berate you and disrespect you and call you different names, you don't have to constantly be around that anymore. That just reminds you of that trauma. That just simply opens a wound that you're trying to close. And so what I'm telling you, brothers, is listen to me when I tell you this. You're free. And this is probably about the third or fourth time I've said that in this past month. You are free to live your life and do what it is that God wants you to do. You're free. You are free. You're not beholden to any of them anymore. You're free. You're not in chains. You can get your plane ticket. You can move. You can never come back. You are free. You'll be doing just what you're doing here. You'll be doing it over there. Wherever you decide to go, you're free. Recognize it. Sometimes a change in the circumstances requires you to change your location. Sometimes it requires you to change your occupation, your job, because these things remind you of past trauma. And all that's going to do is make you angry. Have you slamming people at 38 years old like Bobby did? You don't grow out of it. It's still there. It's still there. But what you have to do as men, you have to come to terms with it and accept it for what it is. And when you can get to the point you can dissipate it. Well, let me say, when you can get to the point where you can see the silver lining in that cloud, then it'll begin to dissipate, and then you'll work towards peace of mind and happiness. And then you'll know what happiness feels like. But that's it. Thank you guys so much. Thank you. Obstacles to opportunity. Malika, thank you. I appreciate Bobby. You guys have been awesome. I appreciate your openness. That's the most important thing. You guys who appreciate what we're doing here, make sure you contribute to the Super Chat and the Cash App and the PayPal. It's all right there. I think we got a good thing going, and I appreciate you guys. I hope that there are other men who create channels like this. I know there are a lot of women, especially the lovely ladies. They don't like to hear us complain because invariably it reflects on them. And then it takes the spotlight away from their misery and their pain they've had to endure. Not that we don't acknowledge it, but we have our own misery and pain and trauma that we want to deal with. And unfortunately, a lot of it has to do with things that we've experienced with them. And that's why they don't like it, because it sheds light on some of their activities, but they've been playing victimness, these past hundreds of years. They can't really play victim. It's like, well, baby, you the perpetrator. Look what you're doing to these boys over here. But either way, that's it. Make sure you guys contribute to the Super Chat, Cash App, PayPal. And that's it, fellas. Like I said this time, man, it's Uncle D and I'm out.